So we were having this conversation in my Discord the other day, and this interesting thought popped into my head. I tend to have some of those interesting thoughts, as I'm sure you guys can probably agree with. But I did a little bit of research on this, and actually there was a post by Crypto Rover this morning that I think actually confirmed my thoughts here. Is that we, in terms of altcoins, have actually never left the bear market. Now, maybe some people disagree with me, but I want you guys to see the information that I found here so you guys can make a judgment call for yourself. And does this in fact mean that we have some exciting times coming as these years progress? So if you are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So obviously in this market cycle, people have been very disappointed with how ADA has performed. And I get it, right? Right now, where ADA is priced at, we're up, 170% from the bear market bottom. We have had some exciting times where we've been up, 500%, which has been great. And we've had these kind of, exciting pumps throughout this market cycle and boring garbage retracements. And what we've basically been watching is just capital rotation. It's a lot of the same money moving around the market from asset to asset. And I'll show you guys this here in just a moment. But when we look at bear market cycles, we can actually have some of these exciting euphoric rips while we're still in a bear market. For example, if we look at last market cycle, we saw ADA run, 273% while we were still in a bear market. We saw it run 140%. We saw it run 260+% while we were still actively in a bear market. So anybody that's saying, oh, we already ran 200%, yeah, you can do that while still actively being in a bear market. Now, we have seen some other assets run to new all-time highs, and maybe they've had hot narratives, maybe they've had VC money, maybe they've had insider information, et cetera, et cetera. But we've watched money move from asset to asset to asset, and we truly haven't gotten a market expansion. What I mean by that is, if you take a look at the total 2 minus USDT, this is the 12-month chart. This is the yearly chart. Where does this current line sit at? Exactly where we were at the height of last market cycle. That's not a market expansion. That is the same money in the market currently being back in assets. Now, we've seen some people move capital into stable coins. So there is technically more money in the market than there was last market cycle, and it's coming from people that are still here from last market cycle. And I'll get to this more here in just a moment. But take a look at the total 3, all assets outside of BTC and Ethereum. And this is total 3 minus USDT. Same thing. This is not a market expansion. You're basically watching people in the market just have enough confidence enough to get back into assets, but we haven't watched new adoption take place. And again, this is exactly what the global adoption numbers show. This is from Q1 of 2023 through Q1 of 2025. Take a look at this percentage of ownership. It's actually down. All right. Now this says, 10%, 9%. This is based on the amount of people that have the internet. So this is 5.65 billion people. So this again comes into that, 6%, 6 to 7% range in terms of the percentage of the world in crypto. So yeah, we haven't actively watched the crypto market grow outside of BTC and a little bit of Ethereum in this market cycle. And it's had to do with institutional money. That's your new players to the space, right? Now, I thought this was very interesting, and this kind of confirmed my thoughts this morning. This was actually a post by Crypto Rover. And what he said is crypto, and especially altcoins, responds more to year-over-year liquidity momentum than just to an increase in global M2. We haven't seen a true bull market yet based on year-over-year liquidity. And what's very interesting is these pumps in the market, they tend to happen, these big bull markets, they tend to happen when we're blowing out of these ranges that we're currently at, right? You guys can see this obviously as we got into late 2017. You guys can see this as we got through 2020 into 2021. Obviously, we had the late market peak in 2021. But what's interesting is when we look at how these past 3 years have played out, basically 2022 into 2023, 2023 into 2024 into 2025, the year-over-year expansion on liquidity has actually flipped negative multiple times. Did it here in 23, did it 24, did it in 25. This happens in bear market cycles. It doesn't happen in bull markets. So have we in fact been stuck in a basically 3-year, 4-year bear market for altcoins? It's 100% possible. And then does that change as we get into these next several years? that is very possible as well, because again, liquidity is expanding. The Fed is shifting their policies. We're seeing interest rate decreases. We're seeing all the things that are basically gearing up for this big liquidity expansion, year over year growth, right? That we historically see. And that's why, again, I think it's, interesting that some people say we're falling into a bear market, but we may have just never left. And that's, again, conversations for a different video. But I thought this was very interesting. And could this, in fact, mean that we have some of our best times ahead of us? So if you're down about price in certain assets right now, I get it, right? And we've had times where ADA's been the fun, shiny toy in the showroom. And we've had times where it's been kind of in the trash bin, right? But what I will say is, again, what we're still seeing in this market cycle throughout most assets in the space, frankly, is good fundamentals. We're seeing good growth. We are seeing capital re-entering assets with capital on the sidelines. And that's from people here. So you're seeing the people here have more and more and more and more conviction. And that's exactly the big basic launch pad that you need as we're waiting for this liquidity expansion to take place and this market expansion to take place. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I thought this would be an interesting discussion to have. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think we've actually been stuck in this 3-4 year bear market cycle? Are we actually about to enter the big euphoric up only times? Could this actually, in fact, mean that now that Bitcoin has had, a 3-year bull market cycle, where we're actually going to see altcoins have a 3-year market cycle? These changes that we're seeing from the historic timelines, I think opens up the door for a lot of possibilities that people aren't necessarily considering. So I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.